Mike Watkins, Hurricane Analytics and HurricaneTrack.com. In fact, let me just bring that up. There's Mark's website. He should be out there now in the Florida Keys, kind of checking things out, and you can watch those live cams. So check that out. And then if you want to follow me on the Twitter, you can at Watkins Track. So I'll be updating throughout the night until this situation is kind of resolved. This is oh come on, this is the Miami radar. This is as of within the last couple minutes or so. The last scans have come in. So let's bring that up. What we've got is a couple things. One, here's the low-level center, or the mid-level center of the storm. And you can kind of see that it's carved out into a little bit broader center. What's going on there is dry air has been working into the center of this storm and over the top of it all afternoon. If you look down here in the kind of the south of Florida, down here in this area, let me get a better color than that. There we go. Down here, this pocket of dry air has kind of worked its way, and you can see it's overtaken the storm in the mid-levels at least. And what that means is like putting cold water on a boiling pot of water. It slows everything down for a little bit. So this dry air entrainment has stopped what was an intensification process where the storm actually survived fairly well over Cuba. But the other thing, and also you can see in this image, by the way, another low here. This is the low this is the steering low that's pinwheeling this storm around. So this is not a normal, by any stretch of the imagination, type of setup for a classic hurricane. But the sun is going to go down soon. In fact, it's already going down. So what happens at night in the tropics, almost the exact opposite of what happens in land. As the sun goes down, the atmospheric temperature at the top of the clouds also goes down. What that means is you've got warm air underneath, cool layer aloft, right? That's the classic definition of atmospheric instability. And so unlike over land when temperatures go down at the surface at night and the thunderstorms go away, over the tropics, especially over warm water like this, you've got the biggest possible difference at night between what's happening at the surface and what happens aloft. So what I would expect will happen over the next several hours is that thunderstorms will begin to develop and clusters of storms will pop up in the center as we get into what's called the diurnal or daily maximum. And when that starts to happen, we'll see pressure start to lower a little bit at the surface, and we'll probably get a hurricane that will come through the Keys sometime late tonight. But the other thing, if we go back, this is the visible imagery. I'm not centered very well, am I, here? Let's check. It doesn't matter at this point. You can kind of see this dry slop also, and what's happening is the clouds are actually starting to leave in here, and we're getting the appearance of an eye-like feature. It's not an eye necessarily because it's not a hurricane, but it is we're seeing the mechanics of this happen where the air in the middle of the storm, and especially within about 30 or 40 nautical miles away from it, is starting to kind of settle down, and now you're seeing all the force spinning around outside it. So this structure in visible imagery shows kind of almost a dual kind of eye wall structure. Again, it's not a hurricane, but it's not a dual. But it looks like we do have a couple of concentric wind maximums, or in other words, once you get out away from the center, especially to the north and east, the weather up here is probably going to be worse because of the way the structure of the storm is than they're going to see as this goes across the Keys. Now, they're going to get more surge down there by the Keys than we are up here because they're closer to where all the force is at the surface. But this means really for us, and especially in southeast Florida, we may see worse weather from this than the folks who are in Key West as this goes by. The other thing is, here's that low again. You can see it pinwheeling around. So, I'll talk about this for just a second. The forecast tracks are actually a little bit further north early on, pop it back down into here, and then ultimately it spins back up later in the week, leaving kind of bad weather around for us for a while. But let's go to the radar. So this is the radar imagery again out of Miami. Here's because we just covered this, right? Here's that center. Here's that secondary kind of wind maximum, or maybe a broader gyre. And so what's happening now is you can see these storms in this area, right, just off the southeast Florida coast, that are chugging toward to the Florida coast, and they're going to get here, I would estimate, within the next half hour to 40, so about 5:30 Eastern time. That's when I think the worst weather that we're going to experience is going to start. And if we zoom in, and I won't like go into too much technical stuff here on the Doppler radar, but you can sure see and this is the precipitation depiction, but the way that these bands are aligned and organized, they're banding, they're in a straight line, so as these come in, they're going to start translating water energy down from the upper levels and start bringing the surface, especially as they cross over the land here. And of course, here's Hurricane Analytic HQ right there. But that's where I live. But so this shows. Then, if we look, I guess we could go ahead and look at the velocity scans, and actually the weather is starting to get a little bit bumpier here. But if I kind of take this out and center the radar in some of these areas, we're getting 50, 60 mile per hour winds aloft and off the surface there, and even about 40 mile per hour winds near the ocean here. So these cells are packing a punch, and this brightness and the returns here, and I'm moving the center a little bit around so you can kind of see it. This is the Doppler image. But again, you can see the outer kind of eye wall-like feature, and then you've got this inner kind of thing pinballing around in here. So what and we've seen this especially in well-organized hurricanes, but sometimes these centers will spin around inside the broader eye, or the broader thing. So it does look like this is moving to the north and northeast for now, and it will probably spin around and go in that direction. The question is, and I don't know that our models can fully resolve this, as this inner center kind of spins around and goes this way, the big difference, at least in terms of where the most surge will go, is does it spin at an angle like this and parallel the Keys? Does it spin up a little bit and maybe goes close to Miami or even further north? The wind probabilities from what we're seeing from the Hurricane Center's process is that south of pretty much Key Largo is where all the hurricane force wind probabilities are, and that's why they're in hurricane warning. They've actually dropped our hurricane watch, but we're still in a tropical storm warning. But because this is a atypical, more of a hybrid cyclone that has and when I say hybrid, it has tropical and non-tropical characteristics. So, normal lows up in the middle latitudes, like you get up in the Midwest and the Northeast and all that. So combined with the tropical type of warm core here. So because of that, the wind field is spread out about 150 nautical miles from the center. So if this is the center here, let's see, 150 nautical, let's get my tool. 150 nautical miles from there means that we've got about tropical storm force winds that far. So right around, Hurricane Analytics HQ, which is another 50, 60 miles offshore. But this is going to continue to move some to the north, so that wind envelope will continue to spread north. So I would expect that we'll have tropical storm force winds arriving here, maybe in some of these bands that are coming in toward the sunset tonight. And then overnight, each kind of progressive area of bands as they move in is going to start bringing stronger and stronger winds to us. And so at least here, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and down to the Keys, this all is going to start in the next hour or two, and it's going to last overnight. And it's going to just be bad weather. And on top of that, we've got a tremendous amount of rain that's already come down. Let's look at the digital accumulation so far. This is an radar estimate. Let me get rid of this guy. Okay, so let me clear that out too. All right, so let's zoom in. All right, I promise I'm not gonna get frustrated here. That's my draw tool. All right, here we go. So as we zoom in, some of the going further north, this is not what I wanted. Is this what I want to show? All right, I don't want to see the array. I want the storm total. There we go. All right, bear with me. I don't want to if I stop now, I'm gonna have to re-record it. So down here at Hurricane Analytics HQ, we've had about 5 to 6 inches of rain pile up since 36 hours ago. And in this swath, really from Fort Lauderdale north to just the north of Oakland Park, maybe Pompano. This is where the radar estimates at 5 to 6 inches have already come in. And if so, we've had more rain elsewhere, but the vast majority of it's been in this section, right? So if we go out back to the the radar imagery showing where all the rain is coming from, right? Here it is, right, again, coming in this general direction. So we'll continue to see what I think is maybe a secondary or outer maxima that's kind of providing convergence or force for these storms to collect and then drop wind from the upper atmosphere. And so when that air comes down, it also brings a lot of rain. So we're going to probably get another 5 to 10 inches of rain on top of this 5 or 6 in this general area. And it could happen also elsewhere throughout the coast. So that's the bigger concern I have for tonight. Wind is going to be bad. Power may go out for a while here and there. Who knows how good our electrical grid is. But flooding is becoming an increasing concern because all of this wind is blowing toward the canal, so we can't pump out the water fast enough. The ground is saturated from last week already. And so even if we avoid tropical storm force winds, we're still talking about significant flooding, and this can happen in the winter. It does sometimes on unnamed storms, but this is a more organized storm. Again, and you can even see in this image the center of the eye creeping northward, not quite to Jim's latitude here at Jim's house, but it's getting there. So from Jim's house, maybe that upper center is about 80 miles away, so about twice as close to him. And he's probably going to get the inner eye wall, but we're still probably going to get more rain. And we still could see stronger winds up here than he'll see down there for a longer duration because of the structure of the storm. So tonight, watch for intensification overnight. We could see and probably will see a hurricane develop within the next 6 to 12 hours. That will mean, and we'll just see how that changes on the radar. Be prepared for flooding, especially if you've got stuff out in the yard, if you pool or whatever. Anything that can float around, get it secured now because the wind may not move it around, but the water will. And if the water takes something heavy and drops it on the bottom of your pool, now you got to get a new pool. So you have to refinish it. So, not the worst outcome, especially in 2020, but it's still a thing you need to be prepared for. And then also just be prepared to act because we could also see small tornadoes, locally strong downbursts, damaging winds, certainly surge near the coast. All of these things are in play tonight. This is not a Dorian or an Irma or an Andrew situation by any stretch. This is, I'd say, more like Irene in 1999 for folks who have been down in here. Lots of rain and maybe some wind for a while. But things can still change a little bit. There's nothing that says it can't get a little stronger than the forecast once the sun goes down here. So Mike Watkins, again, Hurricane Analytics, hurricanetrack.com, and of course if you want to follow on Twitter at WatkinsTrack on Twitter. I'll probably do another update sometime tonight. We'll just see how things develop, and then as needed, I update on the Twitter. But thanks again for watching, and good luck out there tonight.